If there's one place that defines American motorsport, it's here. The sandy beaches a few miles away held races for decades. It's where NASCAR was born. They need a place to race, a superspeedway so fast and so huge that the cars could run flat out all the way around. So they built it. 1 million square yards of earth was moved to create the banking. The void left behind became Lake Lloyd. And 2.5 miles of asphalt created more than just one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. It built the foundation of NASCAR. In the decades that followed, Daytona became hallowed ground. The trophies here mean more than any other. Win the 500, put your name on the Harley J. Earl Trophy. Win the 24 hours and strap a Rolex on your wrist. The banks are not always kind. They're not always fair. And while Daytona wins bring a statistical highlight to any career, it's the losses that make it seem pointless. But for every untimely ending, there is a triumphant healing. For every emotional victory, a mind-numbing realization.
Tom O'Gorman fighting for every inch that he can possibly get. Won the last TCR race of last year, Road Atlanta, starting things off in exactly the right style. It is victory for Tom O'Gorman and the LA Auto team.
I won at Daytona. I earned a trophy at the World Center of Racing. The checkered flag waved for me. For me, it was not the end of a career. While it may be a highlight, it is only the beginning. It's just the best day ever.
A new generation of stock car, a new generation of drivers, a new generation for the Outsider Racing League begins tonight. A season-long championship begins at the place where stock car racing should, a trip to Daytona Beach. The speedway there is known for being unpredictable, unforgiving, and at times unkind. But for this race with a new next-gen car, the amount of unknowns is perhaps greater than before. Where each lap is another note taken. Each driver will get 8 trips on either end of the banking tonight before the defining move of their season will have to be named. 80 laps kicks off the Daytona 200 and the next-gen season for the Outsider Racing League. Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn. Connor, welcome back. A new season, some new faces, some new paint schemes, and a brand new car for the 2022 season, technically, at the tail end of 2021.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with you once again, Kyle. It's very nice. I always love broadcasting the Outsiders Racing League, and I love broadcasting, especially a season opener. What better place to do it than Daytona? Where else would you do a season opener? And there's a big element of surprise, obviously. These next-gen cars, like you talked about, are going to be a handful for all of these drivers. You said 80 trips around the track, just like the last race that ORL had at Daytona. We might have more than 80 trips. or more than the scheduled distance amount of trips. This is going to be exciting.
Sure is going to be exciting. We're going to head down now for qualifying for the Daytona 200. Let's head down to the racetrack, see some of the new names, new faces, some carryovers from last time around, but a couple new drivers I noticed. How about Nolan Hodgson in the number 95 Chevrolet? You'll notice his brand new next-gen stock cars, brand new for this season. So Nolan Hodgson, one of the new drivers here. We've got Ricky Williams, he is new. Chad Klinger is new, running in the Chevrolet Camaro as well, the Exalta number 09. Carl Dodson is in a Chevrolet as well. But some drivers that we've seen time and time again. Adam Cabot in the double 7. The 17 on the side of the car. Jonathan Hernandez is back this season. Other drivers, take note of Jeff Wright, the number 48, classic-looking Lowe's livery on that Chevrolet. Finian DeCuna, typically in the booth, at least last season. Now he's going to be down there driving in the number 94 Sim Motorsports Toyota Camry. We'll get a look at Finian a little bit later tonight. But, Connor, a lot of new names, a lot of new faces. But as we mentioned, so many unknowns about how this car is going to race here.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky test for sure. There are similarities to this package on the next-gen package compared to the current Cup car package. The tandeming's a bit weird. You're going to see probably some single-file trains for a lot of the race, people trying to keep it clean, keep it smooth, and not risk their cars too much. There's also a lot of interesting points to note, how the brakes are very finicky on these cars. They're very touchy, maybe another word to describe it. You're very tough to handle, and if you're trying to brake for a crash, you might have to be careful. Another thing, these bumpers, they don't line up as well as they used to anymore, so if you miss the center of the rear bumper trying to bump draft someone, it could spell trouble for the rest of the field, mainly because it's much harder to save these cars. They're much more difficult to handle, especially when you get a ride bump. It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers handle these new variables.
The defining characteristic of this new next-gen stock car, it is perfectly symmetrical from left to right, and that at least aerodynamically, Connor, and that creates a lot of interesting dynamics in traffic and aerodynamically. These cars are a bit of a handful at times, but they're also stuck to the racetrack at times as well. I don't know how these are going to race here. I haven't yet spectated a race on a super speedway yet with these cars, so we're going to be learning as much as the drivers are about how the runs form, how the cars bump draft, how they push and shove. If you need to be with a partner or 5 before you can actually get a run moving forward. So much to learn in just 80 laps worth of time here tonight for the Daytona 200. As we have a look at Ricky Williams in the number 11. He is not going to get a lap in. Neither will Finian DeCuna, Andrew Telganoff, and more. They're all going to start at the tail of the field for our 80-lap race here tonight. So with qualifying complete, Ryan Carwile in the 71, who got his first win of the season, or his career, I should say, at the beginning of last season back at Charlotte. So he's coming off of a fairly successful 2021 campaign. He'll roll off as the pole sitter for tonight's race. And Connor, with that, let's head down to the starting grid and roll through everybody. Let's kick it off with row number 1. It's going to be Ryan Carwile in that number 71. Then Matt Hollabaugh in the 02 will roll off on the front row. Behind him, Jeremy Miller, Evan Adams in row number 2. Then Hayden Pistorius, Carl Dodson, row 3. Then row 4. In 7th, Ben Laughter alongside Joseph Causey in the number 8 car. In row 5, Jonathan Hernandez and Ray Massey. Connor, take me through row 6 and beyond.
Row 6 has the most reigning series champion Zachary Carr in the 37. Bryce Calusa, a championship competitor last year, 12th. Row 7, Michael P. Hurley and Clifton Cockle. Cockle, the veteran of the sport. Row 8, Zach Halpern and Matthew Close. Matthew Close, our most recent winner at Daytona at the beginning of last year's playoffs. Row 9, Angelo Horonis and the only Honda in the field, and Nolan Hodgson alongside him. And then that 10th row, rounding out the top 20, seasoned veteran Adam Cabot alongside a very new rookie, Chad Klinger.
In the row number 11, it's going to be Mitchell Welker in the number 16 car. He will start 21st in the Coca-Cola Toyota Camry. Then it's Joshua Collins in the Hello Kitty 76. That's a fun one. Then Jeff Wright in the 12th row alongside Andrew Telganoff in the number 2. Then row 13, Casey Lakatos and Brandon Bowers sharing that row in 2 different Toyota Camrys. Then it's going to be Eddie Trejo, Tim Downey Jr. in row 14, followed by Finian DeCuna, Caleb Weekly in row 15. Row 16, Ricky Williams in the number 11, David Mott Jr. in the number 4, and Michael Shore, a new name this season. He's going to start all the way back in 33rd. We have 33 drivers for our season opening race here from Daytona.
Just like the Indy 500, a perfect 33. If only we could do a 3-wide start with all 33 of these guys, but that probably wouldn't end well. But so exciting to see all the new faces ready to eagerly put their name in the RL history books with a season opening win at Daytona. It would be huge if you could cap off your first start with a victory.
So rolling off for our pace lap now. Here's a look at the weather information for today's race. Air temp 72 degrees, track temp 77, Connor. So nice, beautiful evening here on a Saturday night at Daytona. And we are preparing for the first of many rounds. This is going to be The only round, at least as of now, on Sim TV for this season. The rest of this will be broadcasted on the Global Sim Racing Network this time around. But joining us on Sim TV for the first round of the 2021 fall season. Down the back straightaway, the next time they'll see this, they'll be climbing up through the gears, up over 190 miles an hour, and racing into the darkness. Connor, every time we race into the dark, it's like cranking the contrast up on the TV, as Darrell Waltrip said. It just makes everything look so much more exciting.
It definitely makes it more exciting. I think it gives the drivers a sense of excitement, a sense of maybe urgency to look good in the night under the lights and all of that, because you usually see Talladega. I think last few times Talladega's gone green, but that's just never the case at Daytona. There's less room to work with, and there's just more on the line. Talladega is a prestigious track, don't get me wrong, but winning at Daytona, it's one of the biggest things you can do in a real life career or even a sim racing career. It's a big track to win at.
Big track to win at. It's so important to kick off your season on a good note. 33 drivers all trying to claim victory at Daytona. I'm Kyle Heyer alongside Connor Horn here for Sim TV. The Daytona 200 for the Outsider Racing League is about to begin. Here we go. Green flag flies, and it's a next-gen season, the next-gen car for Outsider Racing League. New sounds, new thunder from the NASCAR machines as they climb up onto the banking in turns 1 and 2. Couple drivers dropping back here on this opening lap, Connor, just trying to find some comfort. No need to risk everything right now. You might as well just get comfortable and learn this car before you start making moves.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people try to get single file, or at least close to single file, as quick as possible. But right now, two very strong lines, top and bottom. Ryan Carwile leading that top line to glory right now. He leads the first lap of the new season.
Bottom line forming early, Jeremy Miller in behind. He's won at this racetrack before. Hayden Pistorius riding in third. Good to see Hayden back with us this season in the TDR Chevrolet, up 2 spots in the early going.
One thing I'll already note right here, that top line, it has a decent amount of cars in it, but they're literally not going anywhere. I'm trying to see who's leading that line. I can't tell if that's Finney. No, it's Matt Holliba. I thought it was a formed up line, but a lot of people fell to the bottom, so that's why they were going backwards for the most part.
Yeah, Evan Adams and Matt Holliba lined up on the outside lane. You see in behind, I think that's the 6 of Carl Dodson. One car, Holliba drops in line, and now a bit of a run forming here with, that's the 92 of Matthew Close. In the past, he's been a stark white car, this time all black. He has a shove from, looks like Adam Cabot, the 7 up on the outside lane.
Look at the side draft he just put on Angelo Horonis. Those two side drafting back and forth. He made it work, but Angelo got back to his left rear, so it's not going to work. Like I said, Matthew Close, the most recent winner at Daytona, won that overtime thriller right at the beginning of last year's playoffs. His only win in ORL, really one of his, might be his only top 5 in ORL. So he has some momentum at this track. Right now, he literally has no momentum going backwards.
So everyone's singling out right now, just trying to gather information on how their car is handling, how they're going to negotiate this draft as the night goes on. We're not going to necessarily see 3 and 4 wide until drivers really feel comfortable. I don't think there's a lot of people that have that comfort level. Checking in on Finney Nakuna, the number 94. Again, he was a commentator up here at the Sim TV booth for the season last year. And here he is running in 24th, started 29th. He's up 5 spots at Grid Life Gaming sponsored number 94.
He's one of the, well, not one of the drivers, he's pretty much included in all the drivers getting to the bottom. Only a few drivers peeking out. David Mott Jr. dropping back a little bit further. Also Jeff Wright, whose internet hasn't been the best, he'll drop farther and farther back as we're starting to see the front kind of get spread out, almost around the top 16 or so, separated from the second line that Evan Adams is leading right now.
A 3-car breakaway at the front. Carwile leads Miller and Pistorius, and Zach Carr at the 37. 27 on the side of the car, 37 on the timing and scoring. He's leading that upper group with Zach Halpern tucked in behind, so those 2 Toyotas will drop down in front of Ben Lafter's number 64. Chad Klinger, a new name this season, already impressing as he runs inside the top 10 early in the going here in the Exalta Chevrolet. And some split decisions up here. Here comes Carr in the 37. Big move by one of the cars out there. Was that Jeremy Miller? He's going to pop to the outside.
And he's going to go for the race lead, and he's easily going to get it with help from his teammate Carr. Go up the track. Be careful not to get to the left rear, and they will make it work. As we see, blocking like that's going to be a big deal because you have to keep the momentum up on this track, because if you get side by side with someone for too long, you're going to see a breakaway happen like you saw those 3 cars get to the front. But finally, a new leader. Miller leads lap number 5.
Doesn't look very organized. That's what I've been gathering so far. You see the 64 dropping very quickly. Look at the speed difference now. But it doesn't seem like the cars are as capable of locking into what I would call the puzzle piece draft, where everyone's bumper to bumper, door to door. It seems like they're a little bit more, I don't want to say unstable, but the formations are not perfect crystal patterns. They're just kind of cars existing in the same space. It's not organized, I think, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's a good thing, because it's going to create a little bit of chaos that should allow for drivers to move forward.
It's definitely part of a learning curve for sure. While the package in these cars compared to the old cars is not too much different, there is a bigger bubble factor. There's really 2 modes. You're stuck on the bottom end behind the bubble of the person in front of you, or you break that bubble and you start tandeming. Now, we haven't seen tandeming yet, and with how unorganized and... Oh, we got a crash in the back. Big crash.
Trouble in turn 1, and there's a handful of cars involved in it. No caution as of yet.
Yellow.
Not yet, at least. Mitchell Welker is involved. 48's going to slow to a very slow roll. We still stay green.
Oh.
We are still green.
Welker and Hurley. Yeah, Welker and Hurley hit again. Mitchell Welker will leave the race, and somehow no yellow. Brandon Bowers involved as well. David Mott Jr., Lakatos, I think, might have checked up for it. I cannot believe there wasn't a yellow for that.
Yeah, let's see how this all starts. Oh, the 32 gets into the 4, and that's how it all begins.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't even know what to say. That might be the biggest crash I've ever seen that didn't bring out a yellow. I think Mott Jr. is trying to side draft, and Hurley and him just kind of came together. And Bowers, Welker, nowhere to go.
Yeah, big mess, and that tore up a lot of really good cars. Casey Lakatos ground to a halt there and all that, but we stay green through all of that. And we'll check back up with Jeremy Miller. He's still leading this race. The 6 car, Carl Dodson, popping to the outside lane. No help. He's going backwards in a hurry.
And the Toyotas up front now. Miller and Carr and Zach Halper and all good friends. And Carwell really doesn't have any other friends to work with right now. He's got Chad Klinger and Matt Oliver behind him, but they're going to have to work hard to get by the 3 Toyotas leading, because those 3 are going to work very well together for the rest of this race.
Still staying green here in the early moments. A couple cars hitting pit lane. Casey Lakatos is all by himself. And note, his top speed without a draft is about 184. Check back with the race leaders. They're doing about 10 miles an hour faster than that with the pushes and shoves of the slipstream and draft here at Daytona.
Yeah, actually looking at Lakatos, I thought he was damaged, but he actually just did a good job getting through that. So good job to him, but unfortunately we will lose a draft. And Michael Hurley, he's going to come down the pit road with extensive damage. Jeff Wright with his internet has lagged out of the race as the rest of the field comes storming through. Still single file all the way through the rest of the field. This whole pack, 27 cars now, all of them single file.
So far, so good. We haven't seen a lot of desperate moves yet because we're so early in this race. There's still a lot to be learned. But with the effect of the side draft being so incredibly powerful, that's going to invite a whole different challenge to racing these cars, because the side draft before really wasn't very effective. And now with that extra tool in your toolbox, Connor, you're going to get a little creative with it, and that could potentially be a bad thing late in the race.
Well, we just saw how it could be a bad thing. Mott Jr. went for the side draft on Hurley, and what happened, it was a bit of netcode for sure, but side drafting is taking such a big risk. You have to take that risk. If you get bit by netcode, it's oh well. You have to try to get that side draft to pass people at times, and it's going to be a big, big factor in racing when netcode happens and the side draft just gets too close.
Look at the back of the 28 car. Let's ride on board with Hayden Pistorius. Look at the damage on this car. The rear end of that machine is completely knocked in. Maybe we can get a better look at it from here. It's Clifton Cockrell's car. The entire rear spoiler assembly is completely knocked out of shape. He has been rear-ended pretty significantly, so I'd have to wager that there's a car in this pack somewhere with significant front-end damage.
I found him. He's the one dropping backwards right now, Ben Laughter. Not as bad of damage on the front, but it's definitely probably the culprit of the damage.
Oh.
Whoa, gets really close to the aid of Joseph Causey there, trying to get in the line, but he'll drop pretty much to the end of the pack.
See how this is pretty squared off. It's not supposed to be like that. So he's definitely been in the back of the 28 pretty significantly, and that's going to hurt his aerodynamic efficiency, I'd imagine. So again, dropping back even into slipstream for now. But up front, it's still Jeremy Miller, Zach Carr 1 and 2, then Halpern, Carwell, and Chad Klinger, the new guy in the 09, running in 5th in the Exalta Chevrolet, looking solid at the moment as he rides in behind.
And another thing to note with Ben Laffer's damage in the old cars, really, you could get a little bit of damage, and you could probably still catch up with the pack and stay with them and even compete for the lead as long as you have some sort of push. If you get a little bit of damage in these next-gen cars, I reckon to believe that you're really not going to be too competitive from there on out. As you can see, Ben Laffer's dragging Finian and even Carl Dodson away from the pack with them.
Yeah, so Daytona getting trapped in behind. The thing about Finian is you can't see the front of Ben Laffer's car, so he doesn't know that that car's damaged. So he's riding in behind him, and he's going to lose time to the race leaders, I would imagine. But he does not know that Laffer's car is going to be down on straight line speed. I'm sure he'll figure it out pretty quickly here, or if he's tuning in.
He might have figured it out already. Yeah, I hope you're tuning in, Finian. How dare you not? But yeah, that's going to be, there's nothing you can do about it, too, because with how strong the side drafting is, if two cars get side by side, they're going to lose an entire amount of speed, not just the car getting side drafted, just being side by side with another car in general, you're going to lose so much time. I think that's why we saw that 3-car breakaway at the front for a split second, because they were battling side by side for 4th, and those three just got away. Something to note to get to the end of the race. But even if Finian went to pass Ben Laffer, there's no guarantee that he'd even lead him and Laffer back up to that pack. I think it's already too late for them.
Have to enjoy the creativity of Angelo Ronis taking the Ford Mustang platform and converting it into the Honda Accord. I really like the creativity. This reminds me a lot of my days playing NR 2003, when you basically take whatever the most generic car was and you turn it into all sorts of things. So kind of harkening back to the way things used to be on racing simulators. Look at this gaggle in front of him, Adam Cabot, the 77. The 2 of Andrew Talganoff, all locked in a battle back here for about the 15th spot. Still doesn't seem like drivers are very comfortable running side by side for very long because of the effectiveness of the side draft, Connor. It almost feels like a disadvantage. You'd rather be single file if you can.
Well, like we said, being double file slows you down so much. So if you're trying to pass people, like say Adam Cabot on the top, he's trying to pass the entire pack. You're really not going to be able to do much unless you just completely separate yourself from the car on the bottom, because you're just going to slow those guys down, including yourself, and you might lose the lead pack doing that, so you got to be careful.
Speaking of losing the lead pack, Daytona still tucked in behind Ben Laffer and not going forward. And look at the shove that Talganoff is giving Cabot now. Look at the run they've got. This is, you were mentioning before that you expected to see some tandems. Look at this. This is very successful.
Yeah, it's working well so far, no doubt about it. And you got to be careful, though. Once again, these bumpers just don't line up. So if you hit someone square, it can work, but it is so hard in these next-gen cars to hit someone square. So that's very risky to do on lap 16, but they're making it work decently well so far.
Well, there's so much lateral movement in these cars. I think it's making everybody nervous. But look at the speed they're carrying down the back straightaway past the outside of the 23 of Ray Massey, the 25 of Tim Downey Jr., and now alongside the 76 of Josh Collins. Now the 2-car backs off entering the corner, but you get to the rear bumper, you give the shove, but as you watch Talganoff continue to push that car, there's just so much lateral movement that cannot be confidence-inducing in the driver leading that 2-car tango.
And another thing to note, these cars heat up just as badly, if not worse, than the older generation of cars. So that's another thing to look at. You can tandem, sure, but those temps rock it up. It's not like when the cars initially came out, you could tandem for maybe as long as you could in the COTs from 2011 to 2012. Those temps rise, and if you're not careful, it might flash for only a split second, and boom, your engine's roasted. He's still going, as he just said on the radio, gets hot very quickly. He said that to Cabot. So it can work for a short amount of time, but unless you're near the front trying to get the lead, that might work there, but I don't know if it's going to help you go from 20th to 1st like your Dale Sr.
No, you saw him back off pretty quickly there on the back straightaway, and all that momentum that they had built went away. They hit that brick wall of air and fell right back to from whence they came. Up front, still Jeremy Miller leading the way. Zach Carr second, then Zach Halpern third, Ryan Carwell, Chad Klinger, and then go back to that battle for 10th spot. Joshua Collins on the inside. Now Talganoff cooled down. He's going to give that 17/77 another big shove here.
Yeah, they're making good progress down the backstretch now. One thing to note, I said the lead pack was 27 cars earlier. At first it was then 23, but now it's just 20, as there's a pack of 4 back there somewhere, even behind Acuna and Ben Laffer. Acuna and Ben Laffer on their own, and then Carl Dodson is leading second line. Dodson, Evan Adams, Michael Shore, Ricky Williams, Eddie Trejo. I don't know if this is by design or because they had to miss that wreck, but none of them look damaged, and they're at least making decent speed right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this was by design. I mean, you're going to expect a caution. However, given the severity of that first crash and the lack of caution, that would be of concern to me, because even with iRacing generally giving more leeway on the bigger tracks, I would have expected a yellow regardless. So I'm a little bit concerned that the cautions are off, perhaps.
That car in the apron, I think that was Telegonov, Andrew Telegonov. Something happened. Did he blow an engine? I think he might have blown an engine.
Yes. The engine on that car has expired for Andrew Telegonov. Let's go back and see.
He's going to stop on the track, but he's off track, so there will be no yellow as long as he resets the car, which I believe he does. There it goes.
There it goes. Boom. Did a good job getting out of the way. That was dicey.
Yeah, that could have been another wreck that maybe not throwing out a yellow, but good job getting out of the way. Just that's the risk you take. If that heat up and only blink for a split second, and boom, you're gonna blow that engine. Now the pack goes down to 19 cars, but it will be 20 because they're about to lap that 50 of Case Licata, as they'll go to the outside of them.
Yeah, and again, that was something that Telegonov just learned for the rest of the season, where that engine will blow. So if he was paying attention, he'll mark down the temperature, the duration of that push, and know exactly how far you can push that engine before it will let go. But it doesn't seem like it was very forgiving. Granted, he was pushing pretty heavily for a handful of laps. But up front, still a lot of drivers seemingly content, but that middle of the front pack is getting a little spicy now, integrating the 50 in, who's fighting hard to stay on the lead lap, or at least stay in free pass zone.
Yeah, I think you'll have no issue staying as the free pass car for a little bit longer, as that second line, rounded out by Trejo, are not even close to the line. Miller out of 2, and Trejo rounding out that second line at the line now. But one thing we said right before the broadcast went live, we pretty much said, well, we don't have to worry about things like this stuff. It's going to be all over the place. Well, in my opinion, they're all over the place. We're at lap 20. Usually a full fuel run maybe lasts around 32 laps or so. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the fuel limit is 80%. We might see pit stops in a little bit, but these guys are getting pretty dicey. I think they want more drive position.
Love the new sound of this next-gen car. It is different, but still very much stock car at heart. The biggest change, I think, to the drivetrain was the addition of a 5th gear and the switch from an H-pattern dog box transmission, a more kind of standard manual transmission, to a sequential 5-speed, very similar to the kind that you would have found in the mid-2000s Daytona prototypes, or 1 gear less than a modern V8 supercar, very similar in design. That will play into the road courses more than it would here. You're just going to pretty much put it in 5th gear and ride it all the way out. But it is an interesting addition, and I bet you there'll be a handful of drivers that forget to upshift coming up through all 5 gears as they rejoin the racetrack after pit stops.
Kind of makes my H pattern worthless in a way, because I'll be running around a lot of NASCAR, but even I almost forgot about the 5th gear they have now, sequential gearbox, a much not too different, if anything a little easier, definitely different for NASCAR standards, but definitely somewhat of a cool feature that a lot of drivers can have a learning curve. We might even see shifting at maybe 1.5 mile tracks, maybe short tracks, depending on how these cars are set up by iRacing or whoever makes the setup. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a part that plays in all the races, not just the road courses, but even the short tracks, the 1.5 miles, and even the tracks like Auto Club in Michigan, excuse me.
So a couple of teammates leading the way right now with Carr and Miller. Different paint schemes, but the same logos on the hood, same manufacturer under the hood. So far, Jeremy Miller has been the dominant force in this, and with the pairing up front, they haven't really had the opportunity or had to swap very much. Jeremy Miller's led 19 of the 23 laps that we've completed so far.
The lead pack, just a quick update, it's down to 16 lead lap cars, and the lap car of Case Licata is Joshua Collins, Adam Cabot, Hayden Pistorius. They lost the draft. That'll be another thing to note real quick about these next-gen cars. It seems much easier to lose the draft, as we started with 33 cars, a lot of cars, at least 6 or 7 cars. Let me count that real quick. 5 cars out due to damage, but everyone else, they've lost the lead pack either avoiding a wreck or on their own accord. So very interesting how many cars are already out of this lead pack, and we haven't even gotten the green flag pit stops yet.
Think about Finney Dacuna riding back here in 21st behind Ben Laughter. Again, had he known about the damage on the nose of the 64, I don't think he would have tucked in behind him so convincingly. And they have lost a ton of ground. They're praying for a yellow for sure. And it might happen, but I don't think it's going to happen now. Everyone's very tidy and neat at the moment, preparing for that pit stop sequence. And I don't think it'll be late in this race until we'll see another opportunity for a caution flag, because everyone seems content right now riding where they are.
And how much is that going to hurt their fuel mileage? Probably having to be more full throttle because of the damage and the lack of cars in this pack. While this pack of around 15 are checking up every now and then because they're in the pack and obviously checkups happen. How much is that really going to hurt those drivers back there? Opinion doing that left, they fall back to that second line there, but how difficult is it going to be to get a chance back at that lead pack? Is it even possible to do without yellow? I really don't think so.
We also really don't know what the fuel economy is going to look like for these cars. When we transitioned from the restrictor plate to the lower horsepower, higher drag package, we saw a huge decline in the fuel economy of these cars because they were running with essentially the same power level, but with a whole lot more drag. So they were just consuming so much more fuel to do the same speeds around the racetrack. I think we're going to see fuel economy similar to that of the late version of the previous generation car. But I think it's going to be hurt a lot more when you're out in the open like you are if you're Dacuna and Ben Laughter. So they're going to have to worry about, a lap or two shorter. I don't think it'll be incredibly significant to the point where it'll be, like an Indy car, 7 or 8 laps prior. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal, but something to keep an eye on for sure.
No doubt about that. Even the guys in this line of 5, Adams, Trejo, Williams, Short, and Dodson, those guys might have to worry about it as well. Maybe they have to pull some sort of tire strategy out. But there's not much you can do when you have to take a full tank of fuel. You really can't take 2 tires because the fuel is just going to take out the rest of the seconds that you would have tried to gain. So not much you can do without a yellow if you're those guys back there. But that's probably their strategy at this point. Just wait on the yellow. And don't be the yellow.
Don't be the yellow, yes. That is definitely
good
mindset to bring into Daytona or Talladega for that matter. So a trio of Toyotas leading the way. Then it's Ryan Carwile's Ford, then a quartet of Chevrolets, and Toyota and another Ford wrapping up the rest of the top 10 here as we approach the lap 30 marker here, about 12 laps from halfway. And so far, we've seen one big crash towards the tail of the field that took out a handful of cars in the early moments. But since then, we've been clean and green. And we haven't really seen a lot of shuffling up front. It's been mostly single file. Again, everyone just trying to bleed off the laps and conserve their energies and their race cars until the tail end of the race.
Yeah, the 5 cars taken out in that incident that did bring out the yellow. Mitch Welker, Brandon Bowers, Dave Mott Jr., Jeff Wright, and Michael Hurley. Those drivers out because of a wreck. Andrew Kaleganov, he blew his engine pushing out of Cabot. We saw that happen. He's out of the race. So that's 6 cars. And Case Licata is the only driver who's a lap down that isn't out of the race. He's only 1 lap down after avoiding the incident. And now we're seeing, look to note here, Miller and Matthew Close and others, they're pitting in this time. So 29 and to 30. Oh, we got a car hard to the inside wall down the backstretch. Trying to see who that is. Angel Horonis through the grass.
Yeah, there he is, Ronis. In the grass on the backstretch, trying to find him on the timing and scoring to be able to pull him up. There he is. Some rear end damage. And that Honda Accord will rumble through the grass. Let's see how this started. He was in the push from the 8 car. Whoa!
Wow, and Joseph Causey completely just blew pit entrance. I don't know how Horonis, I thought he was going to slam the inside wall, but he somehow made a great save as, like I said, Joseph Causey sped on pit road. We have a car around on pit road. Nolan Hodgson has missed his stall. He's facing the wrong way completely.
Now, I was just about to mention how good of a job Hodgson was doing in his first ever race in the series as Ronis finally makes it back to pit lane. And a lot of action on the pit road right now.
There was the incident, there was Matthew Close who turned Noah Hodgson on pit road, and that also ended up including Ray Massey and I believe also Clifton Cockrell possibly. A lot of calamity happened there in only about a minute.
Well, let's go back and have a look at how this started. Here it is. Oh yeah, just so much chaos there as everybody just tried to find their pit stalls. It seemed like everybody came sort of together because there was no real defined groups. Everyone was just in one big pack. So everyone came together and made pit road a very busy place. Now look at Matthew Close's car. A lot of damage on that 92.
And he's not going to get a yellow because that didn't happen on the track, excuse me. And that's going to really be tough to hang with any sort of pack because he's on his own after obviously being delayed and entering a stop. That was what I was talking about. We were already down to only 15 cars in that lead pack, and we didn't even get the pit stops. We might even be close to maybe 10 after this.
So at lap 30, we had the majority of our pit stops. Chad Klinger now leads this race. He is going to cycle to the lead. Then Zach Halpern, then it's Jeremy Miller, 8/10 back in third. So it looks like Klinger and Halpern were able to leapfrog the two leaders on the beginning of the pit stop sequence. And Jonathan Hernandez in fifth, Carwile, Weekly, Hollaba, Downey, and Adam Cabot, the rest of the top 10, passing and lapping the 50 car once more. Here comes Miller with a big push from his teammate in the 27.
Yeah, and Halpern and Klinger, I mean, they got the lead there, but they're not going to be able to do anything too big of a run the block. Miller and Carr have been working together so well as they're going to just rocket by Chad Klinger back to the race lead, those two. And Halpern's going to join them.
Having teammates definitely will help you at a place like this. And through goes Jeremy Miller back to the top spot.
So being a rookie is such a big disadvantage. Carwell, Hernandez, Halpern, all those guys, seasoned, pretty much veterans of this series, just absolutely blown by Chad Klinger. And now, that's what I was talking about. Look at this lead pack. It's not even, you can barely call it a pack. It's about, what is that? About 6 cars?
6 or 7 cars, yep. I was going to just point out,
Sorry.
Finney and Dacuna, he has jumped into a larger grouping now, still behind the 64, but at least has some more friends, which will be helpful to catch the pack again.
Oh, Adam Cabot spinning down the back straightaway on his own, all on his own through the grass.
Pirouetting through the bus stop and sliding back towards the apron, trying to keep the foot in it to keep it from rolling back up onto the racetrack. But Adam Cabot, who was so successful last season, that was a little dicey there, is going to pull back up onto the racetrack and get rolling again. That was help from the 20. Was that Bryce Calusa?
Yes, it is, and
Right there.
just hooks them. And it's so hard to save these cars. Look at the wild ride he went through. Remember Sam Hornish's wild ride in this grass through 2015? It was not quite as bad, but once again, that's the danger of trying to bump draft. If you're not square, it's going to go badly. Calusa's on the right rear, basically, and that's never going to work.
Cabot did a good job. You have to wonder about any underbody damage. One of the other primary changes to this next generation car as we watch the leaders go by here, I want you to notice under the tailpipes of the 30 or the 27 here, this new rear diffuser. Now, Connor, that's to help with downforce. The only problem with it is that it's a pretty fragile piece of carbon fiber, really low to the ground. Very easy to damage that on curbing at road courses or grass or any sort of rough surface. So sliding around backwards at 160, that'll likely damage that component.
We could probably look under Cabot's left rear of his diffuser. You could probably see it's a little bit bent under there, if I'm not mistaken. So that's another big part to maybe look at as Dave Mott Jr. is on pit road. I saw some smoke, don't know if he had an incident, but you can see the definitely damage to that 77. And even that little bit of left rear damage, it's not so much the quarter panel damage, it's that diffuser damage. It's really going to throw off the balance of that car for the rest of the race, basically.
Yeah, it looks okay from the rear, but as you roll around to the side, there's definitely some damage to that car. So that will not be very fun to deal with. Now, at a track like this, I don't think it'll be a huge deal, but any other racetrack we go to this season, if you damage that component, you're going to have a really rough time finding the balance in that car once again without that rear downforce.
I can't imagine doing that at a mile and a half. If you have that at a mile and a half, can stick a fork in you, you're basically done. So another very interesting variable we're going to have to note this entire season, watching at least this entire season, we're going to have to note how these cars drive.
So Jeremy Miller, as we come to 5 laps to halfway, Miller has led 30 laps so far this race. Self-defined plate goat, Connor. Thoughts on that as he continues to lead here at Daytona?
I don't know how much I can comment on that. I've heard that for years at this point, but you know, it's not like, oh, he's going to have to dice through some lap traffic. Let's show off how much of a plate goat he is. He's going through the middle. What a move there as he gets by Adam Cabot, but he's definitely, he doesn't say it for no reason. He's usually at the front. We see it all the time. He leads laps. He makes dicey moves to the front. We haven't seen the moves, really. He hasn't had to make the moves to the blocks today. He made the one block on his teammate, who's the second car, but he's always finding himself at the front of these races at some point. He's always a big factor to win at these tracks. His last win was actually his only non-super speedway win, which was at Texas on fuel mileage last season, race 2 of last season. But he is always probably the biggest threat at Daytona, whether it's the biggest threat for the win or the biggest threat to cause the wreck. You really never know with Jeremy.
We continue to stay green. 37 laps of green flag racing. Still a lot of doubt for me around the caution flags and how easily they should be coming out, because that first wreck didn't trigger one, and it definitely should have. And we have yet to see any sort of incident to that scale yet. So I'd put my money on at least this race going green until at least the last 10 laps.
Yeah, and we'll really, even if we get to those last 10 laps of the race, if this pack is still only, say, 5 cars, what's the race even going to be like? Is there even going to be a risk of a crash with a pack that small? How many people are really going to catch up to the lead pack? I'm trying to look at the lead pack's times last time by.
45.6, Connor, for the race leader.
Yeah.
Look at this, Eddie Trejo in this pack that's a couple seconds back from the main pack. 47.0 last time, so it's seconds slower. This is catastrophic if this race goes green all the way.
And one thing to note, in the old generation of cars, you really didn't see that. Usually the smaller the pack, the better. If you had a big pack, a lot of checkups, the speed of that pack would slow down, but that's just not the case. These guys are running 45.6s. They were even even Jonathan Hernandez, he had a high, some of these guys hit 45.5, so
yeah, this is
that's
the best.
Then for sure.
This is the best laps that they've run. Miller's last lap was his best, so same for Zach Carr, same for Zach Halpern, same for Ryan Carlisle, same for Chad Klinger. All these drivers just ran their fastest laps of the race on lap number 37, so they have figured it out. Single file right now seems to be the way to go, at least to make speed.
Yeah, the guys who are closest to them right now is probably this pack of 3 to 4, Causey, Oliver, Downey Jr., and Caleb Weekly at 46.1s, but even then, that's not even close to what the lead pack is doing right now. So without a yellow, this is going to be tough. We might see a lot of lap cars because Pistorius leading this other pack is 31 seconds back already, and that gap is just going to expand and expand.
So one has to wonder, as we continue to watch the race leaders, is this going to group back up? Let's have a quick look at the sidebar here. There's a group from 1st to 6th. There's a second group from 7th to 9th, and then from there on back there's another large grouping. So these cars have sort of assembled in mini packs, but neither is catching the other. They're continuing to expand. But for the drivers that are in that lead group, how about Jonathan Hernandez, by the way, got his first win in ORL last season at Talladega, and right now running very consistently inside the top 10.
Yeah, he's done well to get rid of or avoid the majority of the chaos so far. Just pretty much almost everyone in this lead pack is done. And one thing I have to question, when we start lapping people like Nolan Hodgson or Ray Massey, Ricky Williams, those types of guys, I think that's where the wreck could really come. Not so much racing for the lead, but you're going to have a lot of drivers trying to race for that lucky dog. Right now it's Case Lakatos, Clifton Cockle, Cabot, and Angelo Horonis, all those guys racing for the lucky dog right now, but you're going to get so much more drivers into that battle like Hodgson and Massey, and even guys like Dodson. Carr on the outside wall, down the backstretch, Michael Shore, and the yellow is finally out.
Caution at halfway. Michael Shore takes a hard lick. You see the entire front end of that car torn off. And the first caution of the night happens at lap 41. This was a push from Ben Laughter. Ooh, there was definitely some netcode involved with that one.
And Shore had an internet issue for sure, so that might have played a part as well. That's Casey Lakatos who will get the free pass now, and some big contenders stuck now, a lap down.
First caution of the night at Daytona International Speedway for the Outsider Racing League Daytona 200. That's going to shake things up. Now, we just came to pit road, Connor. Do we pit again?
I think we only saw the leaders. They only went about even 30 laps, so I don't think you cannot make it from here. But obviously, you might as well top off on fuel. You really have no reason not to. So you at least take fuel here, I would say.
That was a big sigh of relief from basically everybody that wasn't in that front pack. They're going to get a chance, a new lease on life here to get grouped back up. Lessons learned on that first green flag sequence, Connor. Don't all come as a big pack because it creates so much chaos in pit lane. You're just going to lose time.
We might even see chaos under yellow here. We haven't seen under caution pit stops. We might even see wrecks there. And like we said, it's a sigh of relief. It's a sigh of relief for maybe about 20 or so drivers. It's a groan for those top 5 or top 6 who were still on that lead pack. This is going to be interesting because we're going to get to the last half of this race. Everyone's been running single file the entirety of this race. Will we see more people get aggressive with the way they race?
Eddie Trejo back up inside the top 15 as the field comes off of turn 4. Pit road is open. Let's see if anybody decides to come down. And it looks like all drivers want to come down, and here they come.
That is Okada staying out. Pretty much all the lap down cars will stay out to get their wave around. They don't really have much of a choice. They saw how green this race went. If that happens again, you're not going to have really a chance at the lucky dog unless you want to race for it. Looks like no one on the lead lap will stay out.
Ryan Carwile into the pit box, pole sitter. This is an advantage on those caution flag pit stops. Got that first pit stall. He's going to just gas and go. I like that call. He's going to roll right off, and he will lead the field off the pit lane. Oh, more trouble. The 59 spins in pit lane, and the 6 car as well.
Another incident. I think it might have something to do with the brakes, but we're seeing a lot of incidents. This is the most it's only 2 incidents on pit road, but you usually don't see more than 1 a race.
Ooh.
And Evan Adams.
Who's coming in there with a head of steam.
Don't know if the 6 just didn't know where a stall was and was being cautious. And maybe Evan Adams knew where a stall was, as that's going to be tough for the guys on the left side to jack the left side tires up.
We'll have to get the jack in some other way, but Ricky Williams leads this race. He did not pit under this caution, at least not yet.
Oh yeah, it's another thing. They don't have those same jacks anymore. I almost forgot. They have those air jacks.
Oh, they're not using air jacks, are they?
I thought they were using air jacks. I don't think they're going to use the. I think there was air jacks.
I don't think they're doing air jacks. Let's look at the side of the car. Do we see the jack? Oh yeah, there's still a jack cutout down there.
Is there?
Yep.
Huh.
Here.
Well, at least when it comes to pit stops, we know it's only the one lug nut, obviously.
Yes. Well, which I think will create bigger issues because once you strip that
you would think
thread,
yeah.
it's game over. If you look at Formula One, you miss that thread and that's it. Race over, which I'm not a huge fan of necessarily, but
me neither. But at least we agree.
All right, so we're going to get to restart here in probably 2 laps, maybe 1 lap. Let's see how we are here. 1 lap. All right, so we're going to get a restart on lap number 45. 35 laps to the end. Ricky Williams did not pit. Do you like that call? He was one of the only drivers, the only driver in the top 20 that elected to do that.
And you know, if he had friends with you, I'd say it's an okay move, but I don't. You're going to have to pit 10 laps before the majority of everyone else, and you're not going to get many people pitting with you other than the guys taking the wave around. So if he pits with the guys taking the wave around, guys like trying to see who took the wave around, Evan Adams, Clifton Cockrell, Angel Horonis, Joseph Causey, he can pit with those guys possibly, but if you want to stay at the front of the pack, you're not going to be able to. I think he needs a yellow big time.
A lot of drivers still catching up. From Carl Dodson on back, they're still rolling around trying to catch the field. Now they're going to catch Evan Adams, Cockrell, Ronis, and more still trying to roll around.
If Angelo gets anything better than where he is right now, I'd say it's a win in my book, because he was pointed dead at the inside wall down the back stretch. Even same for Adam Cabot. He was spinning like a top down the back straightaway as well. Those would be big recoveries if they could make anything out of this race, because they really should have been dead.
All right, so the field now doubling back up for a restart for the first time here tonight. Ricky Williams in the number 11 Chevrolet bring us to the green. Started 31st, which was third to last. Now leading this way, Ryan Carwile, pole sitter. He's going to restart on the outside of that front row with Matt Hollaba. Very similar to how this race began, actually. There's some familiar faces up front for the restart. Here we go. Green flag back in the air from Daytona.
Williams is going to get a big jump. That's going to allow Carwile to get into the bottom already, so we might already see people choosing to stay on the bottom and single file up. Holloway's going to get no help on that top. He'll get blown by Halpern and Chad Klinger and probably up. He's going to drop back.
Ricky Williams chasing Carwile up to the top of the racetrack to try to sidetrack him. Isn't going to be able to do it. Carwile gets a shove from Chad Klinger. Now they're going to chase each other down to the bottom of the racetrack, down the backstretch, down to that double yellow line. Here comes Halpern now with the help from Tim Downey Jr., his teammate. They're going to stay on the outside lane as Ricky Williams tries to fill the bottom.
We're not going to be able to keep track of everyone who took fuel only or maybe even 2 tires, but it brings a bunch of new players to the front. Carlisle, who was at the front for the most part, it brings him up back to the race lead. I think he was one of the few other leaders this race. Klinger's up at the front now. Tim Downey Jr., Joshua Collins, Bryce Calusa, who caused an incident on the backstretch, Ray Massey, bunch of new players. Although guys like Zachary Carr and Jeremy Miller, who took 4 tires, I assume, outside the top 10 right now, trying to fight their way back.
Yeah, Matt Hollabo was one of the drivers that did not take tires. He's dropped very quickly. Almost seems like he's dropping back on purpose. There's Finney and DeCuna, who we mentioned earlier. Lost time in the pack. There's Zach Carr, all the way back in 15th place. Miller, as you mentioned, 13th. A lot of shuffling right now as people try to find some place to get comfortable. It's very sketchy. The 95 on the apron. The 6 car drifts up the racetrack. Very tense moments through the 3 and 4 banking here at Daytona. Look at Lakatos, 3 wide on the high side.
I was asking the question, are people going to get more racy? I think there's our answer. We've already seen 3 wide. I think that's the first time we saw 3 wide all race already, and it's only lap 3 of the restart. A bunch of guys trying to get to the front fast. Here comes Miller. Look at him going by Eddie Trejo. That's for 11. And look at Zachary Carr trying to follow him as well. Look at those 2.
Yeah, he took a big move now. They're double file back here.
And they're losing the pack doing that right now. See how much time they've already lost to the back of that line.
Yeah, you can see they're losing a ton of ground to that. But look at this front pack singling out, and look how they're already leaving the second group behind. It's amazing how much slower just running side by side gets you. And I think it has a lot to do with that side draft, Connor. Dumping the air out of the spoilers of your competitors is the most effective way to move ahead.
And there's a lot of drivers in this second pack that are damaged. I think they're really trying to get by the 6 of Carl Dodson, and that caused a big stack up, and they're still stacking up 3 wide back there again. Hollabo is all the way back in his second pack. Contact, the 8's around, Causey's involved. Hollabo as well, that will be a caution.
Oh, crash. Big time for the 8 car. Into the outside wall. Caution out again.
You can see that coming, how much they were shuffling, trying to get by other drivers. That was bound to happen, and that's probably our first lesson in racing hard in these cars is very difficult to do, as that car looks to be grab longer.
Yeah, this is all happening. Hollaba, Ronis, the 8, they're just going to go 3 wide and just get squeezed there. Or the 29 of Ronis gets squeezed, and then big hit there for the 28 as well.
Yeah, Clifton Cockle, most starts in ORL along with Lakatos, just nowhere to go on that one. Coronis might have came up, but also the 8 came down. It's just a racing incident, and it's so hard to handle these cars at times. They just kind of came together. That's just racing sometimes.
Yeah, that's too many cars in one spot. The 28 just double punches that 8 car into the safer barrier, and it's going to grind to a halt, and that will be the end of Joseph Causey's night. It's his series debut here in the Outsider Racing League. Well, he's not completely done. He's still rolling around. He'll try to stick it out best he can. But Ryan Carwile now leads this race.
And this makes it interesting on fuel, because we saw on the first run, drivers went on fuel around 28 to maybe 32 laps, and we were right around that number. So I think the majority of the field would probably be able to make it from here. But is someone like Carwile going to want to give up that track position?
No, I think track position seems like a pretty good call at the moment, the way things are going. You just have to make sure that you can be defensive enough to keep everybody in a single file line.
At contact under yellow, Dodson got a bit of a bump from Nolan Hodgson under yellow. Going into turn 3. Don't think there's much more damage. The 6's rear end is already destroyed, so. But I don't know. I don't think there was intent in that.
No,
95 seems to be apologizing, but that's what can happen. These brakes are different. They're hard to get used to, no doubt about it. These brakes, they're advertised as being really good, but I haven't seen that yet. As it looks like a lot of people are going to come and top off on fuel, including the leader Carwile, but I think that was a 76. Joshua Collins will not come in.
The reason why you're going to come here, Connor, is because you can make it to the end from here. This is exactly on the upper edge of the pit window.
Well, of course. I was just wondering, with how Miller and Carr were controlling the field, I was just skeptical on giving up that track position potentially. That being said, Carwile is going to keep his track position, but I was just wondering if that's something that Carwile would have wanted to do. Seems to be the case, though. Is there another crash on pit road? Causey stopped somewhere. A lot of chaos on pit road tonight. I don't think a crash exactly happened there. So Collins is going to be the leader. Ricky Williams He went through pit road, so right now he will be second, once again not taking fuel. And then it was Carwell, Daytona, Lakatos, and the rest of the field.
Now, interesting to note, Finney Daytona up in fourth with teammate Casey Lakatos right behind him. We saw how much teammates mattered earlier. I think that's a good call. If you could get paired up, probably a good strategy, I think.
But can they work as well as the 27/37 and the 30 did? Carr and Miller obviously were working so well to get to the front. With that being said, they didn't really have much of a challenge for the race lead. They really, and Halpern as well, along with them, those three, they controlled the race for the most part. And they haven't gotten to the front yet, but they also didn't see any challenge at the front when they were the top three, as Lakatos is going to come back to pit road, among others.
Well,
so
yeah, this is probably just to extend the fuel economy. I mentioned we were on the upper edge of the pit window. That just topping off here would really secure that pit window. But now you're going to sacrifice all that track position and have to charge through. So, you know, I probably would have chanced it and just stayed out. You know, hit on that first cycle and then take what track position I got. I don't think I would have waited to this second window and put myself further back, but we'll see how it pans out.
I'm just surprised Finian and Lakatos picked, because they were going to be second and third. So I think 31 laps you can make it if you're in the pack. You can't really lead a pack and make it, but I think where they would have been, they would have had a chance. Second and third is where they, I think, would have lined up, around where they would have lined up. That's tough to go up that track position with 30 to go when you know the race is going to have to ramp up.
Down the back straightaway, doubling back up for a restart with 29 laps to go. Connor, is there anybody that stands out as a favorite in this? I think you'd have to pick Jeremy Miller, but he's buried in 17th now.
I think it's still Miller, and I think it's Zachary Carr. I think those two are going to be the ones you want to watch. Unless they get wrecked, those are the two to beat right now. They've showed it the entire first half of the race. No one had a challenge for them, and it's going to be really hard to somehow catch Carr or Miller by surprise. And even if they don't see a run coming, Zach Halpern's back there to be rear gunner, as he's been with them all race long. So this should be interesting. I think those 2 to 3 are the ones to beat still.
Ryan Carwile, Joshua Collins on the front row for this restart. Drivers that have led the most laps, Jeremy Miller back in 18th place. Time to go racing from Daytona for the Daytona 200. Green flag in the hands of the starter. Back racing again after our second caution here at Daytona.
Forgot to note, remember, Joshua Collins did not pit, so he's probably the only one in the field right now who can't make it on fuel. I'd be shocked if he could make it on fuel.
He can definitely not make it on fuel.
We'll see what these other leaders want to do. Look at the scramble in the back. Whatever that second pack is, they didn't catch up to the field at all, and that includes the guy who's dominated the race, Miller. This second pack has lost it already.
Yeah, very disorganized back here. Now going back up to Joshua Collins, his best hope is that this race goes green for 10 to 15, maybe 20 laps, and then the caution comes out with 15 to 10 laps to go. Then everyone's going to want to come back down again, perhaps, to just top off if they're running low on fuel. Then Joshua Collins would come, but he's put himself in a bit of a hard spot here. Going to have to hope everyone else pits later again.
One thing to note, we did have a lucky dog last yellow. I think it was supposed to be Adam Cabot, but for some reason Cabot did not get the lucky dog, even though he was the only driver a lap down. I don't think he was involved in the incident, but that still only leaves 25 drivers on the lead lap, and Cabot, the only car, actually not the only car laps down in the field. Michael Shores got back on track 4 laps down to 27 cars.
Again, single file line down the back straightaway. This car proving that it really prefers to be singled out. And the second group now, led by Matthew Close, getting a shove from Hayden Pistorius. It just doesn't seem like this second pack, once they lose touch, is ever really able to get back to the front group.
Well, that being said, I saw the top speeds from the 76 to the 92, and Close hit 197. I only saw the 76 hit about 194, 195. So try to look at the times of this pack. From this second pack of 46 flat. Front pack they ran 3/10 slower, so this might not be over just yet for those guys.
Joshua Collins started this race back in 22nd. He has moved all the way to the race lead, but he is the only driver that cannot make it to the end from here. So we will have to make another pit stop before the checkered flag falls tonight. Everyone else can just drive all the way to the checkers.
Collins, the race leader, only hit 193 in the turn 3. Matthew Close, he actually hit 200 miles per hour, which that's the first time I think I've seen that all night. This second pack is definitely going to get there.
And they have some of the strongest cars. Jeremy Miller and Zach Carr, they've been really the driving force behind that front pack all night long. And here they are in the second one, needing to get to the front to make their moves, to get the race lead back.
I don't see damage on the 76. I wonder if this is him trying to slow the pack down to save fuel, or he just doesn't have the speed, or these drivers just don't know how to push as well. All three of those could be the case. But
yeah, I think that earlier the lead pack was driven by a pair of teammates. These drivers up front are just not pushing or working together as effectively as were the teammates earlier. So I just don't, I mean, see them now pulling a little bit of a gap, but I'm not sure that that's a great strategy either, because they're just going to get swarmed by Halpern, Klinger, and others.
The thing that surprises me about the second pack, they're not being led by Miller and Carr, they're being led by Matthew Close. And look at his car. It is not in top tier condition. He has damage on the front end, he has damage on the left rear quarter panel. The diffuser's definitely messed up, but he's still pulling speeds up to 200 miles per hour with the help from Hayden Pistorius. So it definitely hurts to be damaged more in this car than the old generation car, but if you have a push, you can still do stuff, as he's going to get all over the rear bumper of Adam Kavik here, going 201, 202 into turn number 3.
202 miles an hour, and here he comes. Matthew Close with a head of steam around the outside now. Cabot almost looked like he wanted to jump up there in line, but couldn't. But now will the momentum die as they pull alongside? You see how Close is moving up. In the past, you would want to pinch the drivers down, Connor, but now it seems like you want to stay far, far away from the drivers to the inside to avoid that aerodynamic influence of dumping air onto the spoiler, which this car was essentially specifically designed to do. So you're trying to stay as far away from the drivers. Look at how much Cabot has lost now that the 92's pulled up. This car is so aerodynamically sensitive to that side draft that it is just crippling to stay in side by side for any length of time.
Yeah, the drivers pushed well to get the lead pack on the inside, but they tried to go to the outside with Close. They lost all that momentum, and they're just going to have to just leave them, as they're actually going to, looks like they're going to dump Pistorius out of line, as Jeremy Miller's going to team up with, I believe that's also his teammate. Matthew Close is also a teammate of Miller's and Carr's, so they're going to try to work together. Cabot goes to the top. He drops back. No one caution gets by him. Cabot should just drop to the back. He is nothing to race for. No one else a lap down, but it's getting racy. Close getting stuck behind him.
Miller, and look at Miller and Carr lining back up again. The dynamic duo tonight going to jump to the upper groove and continue their momentum. But will they get stalled here by this pack? No, they're going to carry their speed almost entirely past the 95 car of Nolan Hodgson. But look, as soon as they get side by side, look at how much speed they lose. Now Finney Dakota jumps into the mix.
And they're trying to space away from that bottom line, but there's only so high you can go and not lose speed. You also risk hitting the wall if you're pushing wrong up there. You have to really pinch into corners and just get some leeway away from the bottom line on the straightaways, but they're just not able to do much up there. If they do get a run up there, I'm interested to see who jumps up there, because you know the 30 and 27 Miller and Carr have been pair to beat all race long. You know they're probably going to go to the front. Do you try to block and join them?
On board with Finney Dakota now chasing Carr and Vernon Miller. Here comes another push. Dakota not going to be super aggressive. I think he's just trying to tag team running behind these two. One of the cars jumps in high. I think that was Ronis. Oh, it wasn't Ronis. It was Calusa. Thank you. No, that stalled momentum. I think it might.
No, they're still hauling. Calusa's hauling. So that was a big move by Calusa. It's going to give him a lot of positions. They're up to side by side. Oh, that lap car flipped and Cockrell. That was close, but they're up to battling for the top 10 now. They have a huge head of steam. Here comes Ben Lafter. He gets up to the front. He got damage earlier, and look at him go. Ray Massey is 6th place. That's the battle for 7th is Downey, and Ben Lafter leading that top line. They are charging.
Well, 20 laps to go next time by, and the intensity is rising here in Daytona. Now we're seeing some side-by-side racing as the two race leaders have pulled clear of the pack, but for how long can they push? We saw motors detonate earlier, but now it's a side-by-side store of next-gen racing machines here at Daytona, with 20 laps to go next time by.
Chad Klinger almost turned Halpern out of turn 2, but they made it work. Side draft. There goes Ben Lafter. He knows how to side draft. He's going to try to make it work on Ray Massey, who has damage. Another lap car pass there with big damage. As this is when the race starts. We took about 55, 60 laps to start, but this is the 20-lap dash to the finish now.
Now we're really going to get to see how these cars do door-to-door like this. We have not seen side-by-side racing for any extended period of time yet, I think this is the defining moment of this race. Can you build a run? We've stalled behind 5th place Jonathan Hernandez.
We'll have to see. It's all up to the pusher. We saw Carr and Miller push very well, and Miller was able to push Calusa very well, but Ben Lafter, once again, he has some front end damage. They haven't charged as much with Lafter leading, but he can get a nose ahead of Ray Massey, but he hasn't been able to come close to clearing him yet. Those top 5 stay single file, and even if at this point they don't know, Carr gets to the bottom. Surprised he went to the bottom like that. Miller gets down as well, so they're going to get in line and maybe try to reform this top line at some point. Top line, excuse me.
Yeah, and Ben Lafter, I think that damage on that car pretty significant in the nose.
Whoa, Ben Lafter. I thought he was going to put Dotson below the double yellow line. Excuse me, that was close.
He wanted down, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He knows what's about to happen. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was almost a big incident. Forces someone below the double yellow line before the corner. That's never smart.
So again, we've got a 7 or 8 car bottom groove that has formed up here. And they have been pretty consistently unable to get past. This is how this race has gone so far. That second line is carrying momentum, but people see that move coming. Now look at Miller jump back up to the outside groove. Oh, a little bit of movement behind him as everybody scatters around the 64. Lafter gets shoved up the racetrack. Everybody's trying to get around this car that has that front end damage that is slowing him down.
They'll go right Ben Lafter, but not Matthew Close. His car looks worse. Behind there for 12th on back, that's where the wreck might form. You see Miller and Carr, they got together again, and they're going to fly here. But look at how far these top 7 have gotten away now, being too wide for 8th. But Miller and Carr finally clear. Eddie Trejo and Matthew Close trying to join them. Let's see what these two can do.
That was a pretty critical moment for them to get clear of that pack. That it's kind of infighting significantly now. Can they build momentum enough to take to the top 7 or 8 drivers that are leading this race?
This is going to be very...
Oh, trouble behind him.
Look at this. No, they saved it? How did they save all of that?
Who was that sideways?
My goodness, I'm not even sure.
Was it Trejo?
Eddie Trejo.
Yeah, here's a look at it.
I need to see. How in the world did they save that?
Off the bumper of the 92. Oh, I think it was the 10 of Caleb Weekly that pushed him back straight. Unbelievable save by Trejo.
Goodness.
Look at everybody scatter. That is a spectacular shot to see everybody scatter like that.
Yeah, it's bad for Weekly and Trejo, obviously, but a great save. I thought that was going to be a big one for sure, but all of a sudden, the pack is down to about 9 cars now. Zachary Carr and Jeremy Miller, they kind of got split apart. Tim Downey Jr. in between them now, and they really don't have much more of a line to help them now. It's just those two against the rest of the pack now.
So with all that chaos behind, it's really just going to be down to that front 9 that lead the way. 16 laps to go. And here goes the 30 jumping to the outside groove again. It looks like Downey is going to follow. And they might just kind of accept the 25 as one of their own, at least for now.
They don't really have a choice at this point. They have to get all the help they can get. They can only tandem for so long. Miller's going to get down, either give Downey some space so he can cool his car off. That's probably the case. Very smart move, but Downey's not close enough to him to really do anything. Miller gets back down, probably go back up there, tries to side drop Fernandez.
It is pretty shocking to me how visibly more aggressive Miller and Zach Carr have been, and it has paid off. They are cutting and slicing through this field like nobody else has tonight. This is really impressive stuff. We've seen no one really be able to put together the winning chess moves back to back to back like these guys have. But it seems like now they're kind of meeting their match with the air, their biggest enemy at the moment.
Oh, big check up there. I don't know what happened. Collins had a big check on the bottom line. Check. There goes Miller. Look at the run they have. They're going to go 3. That's not going to work. Miller in the wall. Klinger has to save it. So does Carr. Now there's damage to the 30.
Yeah, but how bad is it? It looks like it's fairly significant right front damage for the 30 car. Everybody got stacked up there for a moment. And now look at this. Chaos at the front of the pack.
I think that was Ryan Carwell's note to say, hey, I don't want to be behind you anymore. I'm going now. So and I think everyone saw the checkup was caused by the 76, as Evan Adams says he's going to fit in now. Remember, a lot of drivers took that wave round and still need fuel. Also Collins as well. So that puts Carwell, he was already really in control because the 76 couldn't make it. Now he's definitely in control of Halpern behind him.
So now the question becomes, is that damage on the 30 significant? He did just scrape that wall, but you can even see there, it is fairly significant looking. Now, I'm not sure how much that's going to affect the handling and aerodynamics of that car. But he looks like he's still able to build runs here. He's actually sitting on it right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As here goes Ray Massey trying to do something. No run to do it right now. Trying to look at the second pack. Ben Lafter still leading it. And and their speeds in the turn number 3 compared to the lead pack are faster than the lead pack. So if these guys can get formed up, this pack including Lapter, Calusa, Daytona, Lakatos, and others, they still might have a shot. They have to keep that pace up.
Yeah, they have to continue to push and shove while these guys fight amongst themselves. The race is far from over. 13 laps left in this race.
Whoa! Klinger and Miller, they almost doored there. Klinger's going to go up the track again, trying to block and disrupt Downey and Miller again, as now it's side by side for the 4th position, as look how much those top 3 pull away now, as there's a wreck in the back. Carl Dodson involved.
Angelo Ronis also, and he's stuck on the banking, and caution is out. That's going to change everything.
Not sure what happened. I was looking at the lead pack.
Oh, Ronis and Dodson get together there. Oh, the 6 is going to have a horrible crash. That was a big hit there on that outside lane.
Is that Matthew Close barely avoiding Horonis? I saw the 6 said, no, not clear, but I think Horonis was clear, but then he went lower than he needed to. Oh, big hit.
Yeah, we have to get a look from up above here to really tell the full story, I think.
Dodson, yeah. Dodson says not clear.
Well, he's clear there.
Then he goes low.
Yeah.
6 kind of chased him down. Angelo just said on the radio that he hooked him, which
that looks like
that might not have been intentional.
Yep.
Might not have been intentional,
no, but I think
that
is what happened. And I think Johnson might see that when he sees the overhead angle there, but that car is definitely destroyed. 3rd caution of the night, as we will probably restart just under or at 10 laps to go. This is going to massively change the outlook of this race, especially for drivers in that 2nd pack. But Connor, we have seen the mobility be difficult. The only drivers I've seen have really been able to slice and dice are the 30 and the 37. Thoughts? Do you think they can complete the deal, or is it somebody else near the front or maybe in that 2nd pack that is going to be the biggest threat?
I'd just be shocked if no one blocked them. I know they're up to 5th and 6th now, so there's not many people can block them, but you know, you got to figure someone like Halpern or Hernandez are going to try to take that run for themselves and just dump Ryan Carwile. So it's going to be a challenge for sure, and I'm not saying they can't do it, but there's no way they're not going to get blocked by at least one of these top 3. That also saves Joshua Collins, by the way. He's going to be able to pit. Miller's going to fake. Obviously, he won't pit.
Looks like a lot of the 2nd packers are going to come in. Yeah, Finian Dacuna, Casey Lakatos. Now, I'm not really sure what purpose this will serve, but they did drag in a lot of drivers behind them, so I don't think it'll hurt them all that much.
You know, the fresh tires never hurt, especially at a track like this where you need to cut and slice to make moves. And also, a lot of these drivers, especially like Eddie Trejo and Caleb Weekly, they need to repair their damage.
Very weird-looking pit stop for Dacuna. I think he just took right sides, but like went up on the jacket and immediately dropped. Strange.
They're quick. Pit crew members have been training.
Watch this. Car's sitting in pit road. Oh, he overshoots the box. Backs up. Watch, the car's going to go up on the jacks here. And right back down. Away he goes.
Maybe they didn't jack it to put the tires on. Very cost effective, I guess. I'm not sure.
So Ryan Carwile leads the way. Now he has won in the Outsider Racing League before. I don't think he's ever won at a super speedway, though. This would be his first if he were able to hang on. Now, I think driving defensively, Connor, is going to be pretty easy to do, because if you can just get a buddy to sit behind you until turn 4, it's going to be pretty hard for anyone to build a run past 2 cars or 3 cars at once.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can see Miller and Carr get big runs, but we haven't seen anyone block them yet. And I know there's a bubble with this package if you play the block right. So if you see the 30 behind you getting a run, just follow where his front end's going. Try to keep the back of your car in front of the front of his car. Could get you turned, but if you don't keep him behind you, you're not going to have a chance to win that race. If that 30 and 27 get by you, your chances are over for this race. So blocking is going to have to be key here in his last just under 10 laps.
Not sure how much to read into this, but Ryan Carwile is clutching and pulling the car out of gear.
Well, obviously,
I don't think. I mean, everyone will be able to make it to the end. I'm just curious about how close it is. Are they saving for overtime potentially? That would be my biggest concern, right? You're good to the end. You've had a couple cautions though, so maybe that'll help. But I think you're going to want to save regardless, just in case.
Yeah, no doubt you're going to save for overtime. The last race that was here we saw go to overtime, and Matthew Close won that. So no doubt about it, that's probably what the concern is for Carwile. And just a quick note, Cabot, who was at the back of the pack because he needed Lucky Dog, he's back on the lead lap. So his car is still relatively clean. Obviously has some of the diffuser damage, but I'd be shocked to not see him make some big moves to get up to the front.
So we'll have 9 laps. Now, just a refresher on the green-white checkered rules. If the field makes it to the white flag, under green flag conditions, the race will end under green no matter what happens. If we get a caution that is near the end of the race, we will extend the race and restart with 1 green flag lap, 1 white flag lap, and then throw the checkers. If we get a caution before we get back to the white flag lap in any of those attempts, we're going to re-rack him, restack him, and go again. We'll get 2 tries at that before we give up, and the caution would end the race at that point. Let's hope for a green flag finish. I'm, as always, at super speedways, not super hopeful that that's going to be the case, but what better way to ring in a new season in a next generation car than for one of these drivers to claim it, and especially if it's their first win, which for many of these drivers in the top 10 it would be. 10 laps to go, make it 9 as we restart from Daytona.
We've seen big jumps by the leaders on restarts, but Carlo didn't really go there, as I'm really looking at that purple number 30, seeing if he wants to push his teammate, or at least his friend Halpern, or try to go 3 wide for his own.
So 3 wide real deep in the pack as they're all fighting amongst themselves, but Carwile and Hernandez jump out to an early lead on the restart. Now down the back straightaway, this is where the moves are going to start to get made. Look at the 27 and 30 hooking up together. The 26, give him a shot to the rear bumper. That didn't work. They're going to stack him up.
26, we've seen him push those 2, but we haven't seen him lead those 2, and it didn't work there. They're going to fall back as 4 cars clear at the front. Carwile, Hernandez, Klinger, and Ray Massey.
Zach Halpern was the cork in the bottle, but now the pressure is building. 8 laps to go, and now a shove coming from Miller in the 30. That's a 4-car breakaway at the front. Carwile, Hernandez, Klinger, and Massey, as you mentioned, Jeremy. But I don't think that the winner is going to come from that group if the 30 and the 27 can get clear of this pack.
They're going to have a big run out of turn 2 here. I think Halpern and Miller will clear Tim Downey, just doesn't have the push down there. Halpern's going to go low, and Miller did not join him, as I don't know if he's trying to let him back up. I think he might be, but that 4-car breakaway already gone, as Halpern's going to have to make a decision. Does he stay bottom, or does he try to hook up? He can't even hook up with them. Look how far back they're falling.
Yeah, that was a badly timed maneuver. There, the 37's going to drop in front of Finian DeCuna, who will let him in line. The 26 now has help from his teammate. Tim Downey Jr. and Zach Halpern pair up. Now 7 laps to go. Carwile, Hernandez, Klinger still lead, but here come the boys. Halpern and Downey from Downey Enterprises. 25 slots in, so does the 26. Laughter hung out to dry.
I've seen these 2 together in a long time. This could be the 1-2 punch they need to get themselves back into victory lane. Been a long time for both of those drivers. Here goes Halpern. He's going to make the move. Downey goes with him. Klinger can't do anything about it. Does Ray Massey go with him? No, but they're going to lose momentum. Them side by side, get that 3-car breakaway going.
Klinger swings onto the apron for a moment. Cannot advance her position below that yellow line. Carwile, Hernandez 1 and 2. Then Klinger still 3rd. Ray Massey into 4th place now.
And Miller and Carr, the 2 drivers to watch, are stuck on, not really stuck on the bottom, but they're making the moves on the bottom, because the top, there's nothing doing there. They're going to try to clear Halpern, maybe let him in. Downey and Halpern fall back. Nolan Hodgson, where'd he come from? He's up to 5th all of a sudden.
Now line astern here, 6 laps to go. The time is beginning to run out for people to make moves up to the front runners. I like where Ryan Carwile is. I like where Hernandez is. Where's the momentum going to come from? Look at this. The 30 and the 37 again, nose to tail. They've got a gap to build some of that speed, and it's going to happen here at the end of the straightaway. Look at the run they're building.
He did that on purpose. He let off in turns 1 and 2 because he wanted to build this run right here to get to the front, and Tim Downey Jr. is going with him. They're going to blow by Hodgson. Ray Massey, I don't think he can really block. They're 3 wide in the back of the pack, but the 30's got the run. It might have already died, though. Look at the big block, not a big block, big bump there. Didn't work. They lost some momentum again.
Yeah, they had momentum going, but it stalled. Oh, no, crash! Big crash on the front straightaway. The 95 goes spinning. Caution is out, and the drivers that were perhaps the favorites are torn up.
Oh, Caleb Weekly and Bryce Calusa at the end there. Man.
Got a feel for Nolan Hodgson. Was up inside the top 10 there. Had a shot at it, but I think he might have come up a little too far. Let's have a look. 5 laps to go. And let's go back a little farther here and see how this all began.
Miller's already on his outside, getting a big bump from Carr.
Oh,
I
he
think
got tagged first.
he got turned.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, he definitely got hit first. The 37 was pushing Miller and gave him a wrong shove that turned the 30 into the 95, in which 95 kind of bounced off and then headed up the racetrack. And that is not anything the 95 car did wrong here. Just being in the wrong place, wrong time, and big impact to the outside wall. Catches the 37, and Matthew Close might have gotten a piece of it as well. Let's ride on board with Matthew Close, actually, and see what he saw.
A lot of drivers got very lucky there, as this is into turn number 3, bit before the wreck. 30's already going for the moves up there. A few other drivers making moves up there. Oh, see right there, you saw the 30 get way out of shape there. He almost got turned right there out of turn 4. And that really didn't stop Carr from being aggressive on the push, because you need to be aggressive on pushing at this point.
He might have gotten away with it, actually.
Got through it. What a job. That's the second avoidance I've seen Close to in this race. A great job, I think, by getting through that.
Another car that got a good look is Matt Oliva.
Ooh. Skirted danger there. Finian did as well. A lot of drivers ducking for the apron.
Also, Ricky Williams also. Have a look at this. He was a little bit behind it, but he had a big head of steam coming. Pulled the car left.
Oh my goodness.
Time, and then had a big slide coming back onto the racetrack. So he gathered it back up and will remain in 13th for now. Jeremy Miller is going to hit pit lane. That car damaged, I think, beyond contention, at least.
Which is a pretty decent shame, because A, he was definitely the big contender to win this race, and B, it was nothing of his doing. It's just not blocking gone wrong, excuse me, just pushing gone wrong. And that's what we were talking about earlier, how these bumpers do not line up as well as they have in the past with that curved rear end. And that's what came into play there. If you do not make a bump square, that's always going to happen 100% of the time. I'm trying to see how badly that car got damaged. His car, he's got right front damage for sure, but not too terrible. Kind of looked how Miller's did before that incident, so he might not be out.
We're going to pull Ryan Carwile in to talk. Hey, Ryan Carwile, Kyle from SimTV. Got a copy?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, Ryan, right now you're leading the race. You're going to have 2 laps. When we get the green flag here, it's going to be green, white, checkered. You've been leading for a little while now. How confident do you feel that you can hang on to this?
I think as long as I get a good restart, nice and slow, everybody compact, I think the inside line's pretty dominant, so I think I have a pretty good chance.
How has the momentum been working out? It seems like drivers will pull out a line and then kind of stall out. Has that been your experience tonight, or do you feel like a good run can get you to the top spot if you lose the lead?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to get the lead back on the outside unless the lead car gets out too far in front, just because it just seems like the inside has too big of an advantage.
All right, Ryan, we're going to wish you the best of luck. Go out there and go get it. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
So Ryan Carwile leads the race. We should get the 1 to green. And I think this is, I'm not sure, is this attempt 1?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it is. We are going to get an extra lap. So, as is custom with the way the green, white, checkered system works here at iRacing, the timing and scoring tower that you see on the left-hand side of your screen will stop updating live at the end of our scheduled distance. It will only update at the start-finish line once we go to overtime. So that timing and scoring tower, again, will not update live after we get over our scheduled distance. So that will be when we hit the white flag. That tower will not update again until we come back around for the checkers. So just for those watching at home that might be a little bit confused about how this is going to go down, Ryan Carwile is going to be your leader. He's going to have Chad Klinger behind him. On the outside, it'll be Hernandez with Ray Massey tucked in line.
One thing to note, I think something that's new for the Orioles season. I don't remember happening last year, but if you cause the incident, you go to the back, and that's what happened to Zachary Carr. So he will not restart where I think he would have around the top 5, top 10. He'll be end of a line in around 18th as guys like Causey, Dave Mott Jr. and others repair damage and get back on track. But my notebook's out the window at this point. A green, white, checkered, everything goes out the window. Our favorites are pretty much out of contention.
Yeah, it's a free-for-all from here on out. I mean, we get 2 attempts at a green-white checker. This is going to be attempt number 1. So if we get a caution before the white flag, we will get to re-rack him and restack him. If we make it to the white under green, we will finish the race. We will only get one more attempt at this before we will end the race under caution. So, Carwile, Hernandez, Klinger, Massey, Holaba, Daytona in 6th. Then Tim Downey Jr., Casey Lacatas, Hayden Pistorius, and Matthew Close. The rest of the top 10. Pace car peels off. 2 laps to go. 5 miles left here at Daytona. Green flag back in the air. Carwile with a good restart and help from Klinger.
Whoa. Klinger's up. Got a bunch of guys going on the apron. People already shuffling back in the pack, trying to get some sort of run to the front. 3 wide's not going to work with how bad speed is side by side.
Inside line pulls away. Holaba up to 3rd place now. Look at the 23 of Massey giving a shove to the 5 car of Hernandez. They're going to build some momentum here on the back straightaway if they can push. But it's the front 2 right now that have the speed. Holaba with a big run here off into turn 3, but he's locked in. Puzzle piece with the 5 car on the outside, keeping him in spot.
Got to watch Chad Klinger. He's tandeming with that 71 of Carwile. They're tandeming, trying to get away from the field. Come to the white flag, all orderly, at least somewhat orderly at the back. They might try 3 wide. Massey trying to get by, but the top 2 breaking away. Coming back to the field, coming to the white flag.
White flag, one more time around. 2.5 miles left at Daytona. Carwile leads. It's Holaba in 3rd, trying to do something with it as the field storms off into turn number 1. Still 3 wide of the mid-pack there. Pistorius split in the middle. He's going backwards. Up front, it's still the dynamic duo of Carwile and Klinger. Can Holaba build a run? Can the 25 give him a shove? Right now, they're in lockstep here. Here's the 0-2 with a run.
But that's going to get them side by side, and Carwile's not really going to have to do anything. Look at the momentum they lose. Carwile is going to get a big lead, but that could be an issue.
Here comes the 5 car of Hernandez, a huge run. He's going to try to push the 0-2. No dice. They're going to turn. Crash in turn 4. Huge crash. Everybody's in it. Ryan Carwile's going to come out at turn number 4. Here comes Klinger with a run now as everybody piles in. Checkered flag waves. Klinger with a run. Nose to tail. It's Ryan Carwile that comes home. He will win at Daytona in a wild finish that will see everybody behind about 7th place. Completely torn up. Finney and Daytona on his roof, spinning like a top at the tail end of this one.
Literally all but 4 or 5 cars crashed in that one, reminiscent of that 2012 Dega race in the fall. Cabot, no front end. Eddie Trejo, almost everyone without a front end by the end of this one in a blown engine. We're going to see a lot of destroyed cars going back to their base camps, but what a job. Carwile did what he had to do to win this one.
Certainly did. We'll go back and look at the finish in a couple minutes, but let's give Ryan Carwile the recognition that deserves. He did a fantastic job restarting, holding his line, and all the chaos happened behind him, and he will win the opening round of the 2021 Outsider Racing League fall season.
Finian got flipped back over. He's going to try to finish this thing.
And Carwile going to celebrate. Only a handful of wins here in the series so far. This will be a big one. And he's going to head straight back down pit lane, and he will not celebrate, at least not with a burnout. So let's go back after we have a quick look at our race results here. Roll through them. Connor at top of the board. Ryan Carwile, Chad Klinger in the 0-9 gets it done to Matthew Close. Hernandez and Pistorius the top 5.
Halpern, who was at the front most of the race, he comes down at the 6th. Hodgson, who I believe got involved in that second to last incident, he got back to 7th. Ben Lapter, Ray Massey, Joshua Collins, a few welcome names to see in the top 10.
Moving on down the order, here's all the drivers that came in upside down and backwards. Daytona all the way back to 18th. He really got the short end of the stick in that crash for sure. Tim Downey Jr. 13th. Holaba, he was 3rd on the backstretch, comes home 14th in the running order. Now some drivers that had some issues a little earlier in the night. Angelo Ronis, 13 laps down. How about Talganov, 63 down with that blown engine. Mike Hurley, and from here on down, these are all the drivers. I'm going to cycle through one more time. All the drivers involved in that early collision off into turn 1.
And obviously the big one to note was Miller ending up 22nd, who looked to be the car to beat along with Zachary Carr. Neither of them get the finishes they probably deserve.
So with that out of the way, let's go back and have a look at the tail end of that race in the last couple laps. I'm going to take a moment just to kind of cue up the finish of that race because it was a wild one. Let's just watch the entire last lap from the sky and recall how this all happened. Again, here is Ryan Carwile leading off into turn number 1 with Chad Klinger behind him. And the 0-2 is going to get a big run and will pull alongside the 0-9 and stall him out.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about trying to make a move for the win. If you either push the guy in second to the win or to the lead, or you get side by side and you lose all that time. Look at the momentum they lost.
Now, so much momentum loss there. The 71 pulls ahead. Then the 5 car.
Oh, he went middle. Halaba, bit of net code that was never going to work down. He took probably one of the worst hits. Oh,
Daytona almost made it through, and then holy cow.
Look at these. Look, everyone. I think only about 4 cars finished. The car, he finished the race, and he was on his lid and run to the line. Chad Klinger just didn't have the push he needed to pass Brian Carwile. Look at the scramble with the noseless cars to the line. Look at the blocking going on there.
Finney and Daytona took a hellacious impact here.
Who didn't take a hellacious hit? Look at all these guys. He went for a ride, end over end. He at least flipped maybe 5 times, flips into the outside wall. The 11 takes a hard hit. Ricky Williams, literally,
man,
look
at 27.
He's going front end to rear end.
Holy cow.
That's 2 Toyotas taking a wild ride. Finian flies over pretty much the entire field. That car got launched up. I don't even know who that was. He flipped over someone. I think he flipped over Ray Massey.
I have not seen a wreck. That's
look
at how
happened at the
Daytona.
end.
Watch Finney and Dacuna's car here. Watch the 94. It is the white and black car on the inside lane. He's going to get tagged just
so
at the tail
close.
end there. And then watch the way that this car flips over the top of the banking.
Ben Lafter passes him backwards.
Oh, man.
Look at Zachary Carr. He's on his. Look at him. He's standing on his front end. He literally.
Man.
That was perfect. He stood on his front end for about a split second there.
Somehow, Daytona got from here all the way to turn 1. Maybe he was in turn 4 the entire time. I think he was.
I think Zach goes to flip him over here.
I thought he was down in turn 1 when he was flipped over, but
both of them flipped, and Carr was the first one to get on his wheels and help him. Look at how the 5 gets through this. I don't know how he got through that. He made probably the contact with Finian, I believe.
Man, we're going to have to ride on board with Daytona for sure. The 27 nosing
I can't believe how long he lasted on his front nose.
Holy cow.
I've never seen that.
What a mess. Let's ride on board with the 94. This is going to be a wild one.
I don't know if I want to, but here we go. We're going to see a bunch of daylight here, and then we're going to see a bunch of flipping. He was so close to being 4th place. And there we go. Not great when you see the double yellow line in your face.
No. Man, look at how much he was. Man.
My goodness.
What a junkyard. All right, well, with all that out of the way, let's talk to our second place driver. It was Chad Klinger, new to the series, comes home second by just under a 1/10 of a second. Chad, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, that was kind of a wild one. Take us through what you saw the last couple laps of that race.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we all knew the big one was coming. We were kind of patient throughout the whole race. I mean, I didn't really see anything because I was on the inside line the whole time, but in my mirror I could see everyone getting a little antsy to get up front. But it's Daytona, it's racing, but it's good to get a second place finish in the first race.
Yeah, started back in 20th, moved up to second. Tell me about how this car drove tonight. This was a first for a lot of us to see how this car was going to race. It seemed like the runs were hard to keep moving with momentum, and it seemed like it was really easy to kind of get stalled out. So what was your experience like in this car? Did you learn anything that will apply to any other point in the season?
Yeah, with this car, the draft is so important, and the side draft is so potent that you can't really go anywhere if you're on the outside. It's kind of an inside line right now, but at least for other tracks, it's probably going to be the same. Drafting is going to be a big key. The way it handles, it usually is pretty loose for the most part, but on the track like this, it's pretty good. But yeah, overall, I don't like how it drives, but we drive hope we give.
Well, Chad, a great round for you to kick things off, so best of luck to you in the rest of the season. Congratulations on a P2.
Thank you guys.
We move on now to Matthew Close, who came home in 3rd. It was about a half a second behind the 2 race leaders, but Matthew had some damage early in the race. We're able to fight through it and come back for a top 5. Got to be pretty happy about that, coming into a season with a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, it was tough with all the chaos on pit road the first couple times down. There's a few guys wrecking, probably just getting the nerves out for the first race, but overall, good recovery, not too much damage, to be able to come back from it.
Well, congratulations, Matt. A 3rd place. Best of luck to you the rest of the season in that number 92 Toyota Camry. We'll see you around.
See ya.
And Ryan Carwile, we talked to you in the pace laps coming back to the green flag for the green-white checkered. We didn't, in fact, have to do another one. You were able to hang on and win the race, but all the chaos that happened in your mirror. Ryan, take us through the restart and what you saw in your mirror, and did you think at any point that it was likely that you'd get past?
Yeah, it was, I guess, coming to the green, I think we got a pretty good restart, and it almost looked like the outside line was forming up and may have, maybe could have gotten a run at us. But then all the carnage on the last lap happened, and then I thought maybe Chad, because I got a little bit too far out, so I was wondering if he could have gotten by me that way. But yeah, that was quite a big few wrecks there.
It certainly was a pretty nasty one out of turn 4, but you were able to cling on to your first win of the season, so hopefully this starts some momentum. Did you learn anything with this new car that you could apply anywhere else this year, or does it seem like it's going to be pretty different in terms of how it races on the different kinds of racetracks?
For tracks, it'll pretty much run the same, 1.5 milers. I think they'll race a little more draft happy, but I honestly don't think it'll be too different than the Gen 6 cars, at least at the 1.5 miles in short tracks. And then, yeah, this play package is kind of low line fest right now, but not much you can do.
Well, other than being the low line in the pointy end, which you were. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Ryan. You led 25 laps and won the race, the Daytona 200. Congratulations. Best of luck to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, Connor, we're going to wrap things up here. We've got a couple minutes left. Just wanted to kind of recap what we learned. This car is hard to race on these super speedway tracks. I think that's clear.
Not only is it hard to handle at times, hard to push, really hard to control your stuff, but it's also hard to make moves. We really didn't see a lot of moves from the back to the front from a lot of drivers. The only people we saw really doing much were Jeremy Miller and Zip. Even when they got to the back of the field, I think the farthest they got to the front again was around 4th or 5th. So it's going to be something to note. Is that bubble a factor? How bad does side-by-side slow down these cars at other tracks? That's something we'll have to see as we watch throughout the rest of the season, as we'll be sitting on the sidelines watching. And it's definitely going to play into a lot of people's racecraft for the rest of the season, what they learned today.
Certainly will. Of course, we'll be following along with the Global Sim Racing channel. They'll be broadcasting the remainder of the Outsider Racing League season. Glad to be back with you for at least the opening round here in 2021. Again, I'm Kyle Heyer alongside Connor Horn. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for joining us on this wonderful Saturday night. Congratulations to Ryan Carwile for taking home the first win in the next gen car for the Outsider Racing League. We'll see you around. Thanks so much for watching on Sim TV.